Hey guys, how's it going? I've got some tips and tricks for you today, and this one's going to be all about accuracy and a few things you can do to improve your accuracy to rip off a bunch of good hits in a row and quickly kill enemies. So the first tip is really basic, but it's important to understand. The cursor is not a target. It's not as simple as putting your cursor on a guy's head and hitting his head. Sometimes it works out that way, but there's a lot that goes into it, like the length of your weapon, the angle of your weapon, your distance from the target. Those are all things that I'll talk about in a bit. You see here, my cursor's on me because I want to keep my weapon aimed low. Here it's on the enemy's chest, even though I'm aiming for his head. A lot of times my cursor won't even be on the enemy at all. So try not to aim for the cursor or anything like that, because really you use the cursor to guide your weapon. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, the next thing you need to know is where to aim. It doesn't really matter if you can hit an enemy if you aren't hitting them in good spots. So generally you want to hit guys where they don't have as much armor. So if you take a look at this guy, I'd love to hit his chest because it's a nice big unarmored target. But when enemies have two-handers, their weapon can kind of get in the way of their head and chest, so I like to target their arms and legs because that just makes it easier. Now obviously shields are a big part of the game and make a big difference when it comes to landing hits too, so I want to talk about them a bit. A lot of the shields you can kind of ignore because they aren't that big. Something I talk about a lot is the head being a constant weak spot, so if a guy's shield doesn't cover his head, that's what you should attack. And even if they have a helmet, helmets don't have that much durability, so just knock it off and then hit their head. And that's fine for smaller shields, but then there are some bigger shields that do actually get in the way a bit more, but there's still some reliable ways to beat them. So the big round shields that you see in the late game, these actually have one fatal flaw. When the enemy has their shield up, their head sticks out just a bit right over here, and it makes it really easy to hit them because it's kind of the only thing you can hit if you aim in that area. Tower shields are also pretty big, but still don't quite reach the head, so you're able to go over them pretty consistently. You just gotta find the right distance to swing from so you actually get over. As for oval shields, they aren't as easy to beat. Sometimes you can get over them and catch a bit of the enemy's head, but it's kind of hit or miss. Usually the easiest way to beat these is to get them out of the way completely with a shield bash or by breaking them. Alright, so back to accuracy. This next part is the most important thing when it comes to actually improving your ability to hit consistently. Adjustments. You always want to be making adjustments. If your attack didn't hit, make an adjustment. And there are really two kinds of adjustments you can make. You see here, I want to hit this guy's head, but I'm a little high, so I bring the spear down a little bit with my cursor, and now I'm hitting where I want. The other way you can adjust is to change your position. So axes are really good for showing this. You see here, I'm actually too close to this guy, so my axe head is actually going past him, and I'm hitting him with the shaft of the weapon, getting yellow hits and bad damage. Then I move back, and now I'm banging into his shield or missing completely. And finally, I'm able to kind of settle into a sweet spot, not too close and not too far, and I'm able to get a bunch of good hits. You want to constantly be doing this, paying attention to what works and what doesn't, and making the adjustments as needed. And that brings me to the last tip, which sounds super simple, but it's true. If something's working, keep doing it. You look at this guy again, say he were to move his weapon out of the way for a second and I could hit his chest. I could do that, but there's a chance I miss that, and then I would have to find my spot on his legs again. It's a whole lot easier to just keep hitting his legs instead. Similar one here, Iron Daka, not a weapon I use very often, but I got a nice hit with it, so I just tried to keep replicating it and it worked out nicely. And then once you've used a weapon or a group of weapons enough, this will come more naturally to you as you learn what positions and attacks work best. That's another big part of it. Finding weapons that feel good to you is really important. There's some weapons for me that I just don't use because no matter how much I try, I just can't find anything that feels good with them. And once you find a weapon you like, there's sometimes other little things you can do that'll make hitting even easier. So one example, you look here at the Daka, though this also works with other spears. When you bring your cursor out to the side like this, it changes up the arm angle a little bit and your elbow actually comes up. This lines the weapon up pretty much exactly with the enemy's head, so if I'm aiming for the head, this is one of those little tricks I like to use. Keep in mind as well that I have a lot of hours on the game, and as much as I think the tips in this video help, there is also a degree of hand-eye, muscle memory, and feel that goes into it as well. Practice does make perfect, so keep practicing. And that's that for this one, so hopefully these tips are helpful. Leave a comment if you got any of your own little tips that help you with accuracy. If you want to see some more tips, you can click the video on the screen, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.